and welcome back to Gapey's Garden. Today we're going to take a look at the cherry tomatoes. I know everybody is looking forward to this video. So we have 8 varieties here in this bed, and this one is the grape, the green grape. So they get kind of a light green, kind of a yellowish color. So you can see these ones back here are probably ripe there. I haven't picked too many off of here, only a couple have ripened up. It's a determinate or semi-determinate plant, so it's not as tall as a lot of the other cherry tomatoes we have here. And then next to that we have the blush cherry. So this one is actually an elongated shape, and it's got some nice kind of variegation striping on the plants. And I haven't picked too many of these either, but there is one ripe one here I can show you. We'll just pick that one. This one has a little bit of rot on the end, but this is how they look, kind of a nice stripy yellowish orange color. And then next to that we have the blue gold berries, and this one, the stalk on this one is just really huge, and it's the biggest plant, the biggest tomato plant in the garden this year. These are what they look like. They're kind of a yellow and a purplish, kind of a maroon color. They're really pretty and pretty tasty too. Doesn't seem to have a super big amount of tomatoes, but the plant is really, really tall. You can see it's going all the way up here. And I've actually trimmed some of these tomatoes back because they were just getting too tall, and I need to trim this one. And then we have my favorite, the sungold, and everybody's favorite, I think. This one doesn't seem to be as productive as it usually is. There's a lot of tomatoes all in some small clumps, but it's not getting as tall as it normally does. But it does have a lot of tomatoes on it. But I did want to show you my new favorite tomato is the Berry's Crazy Cherry. This thing is super, super productive. If you've seen some of my other videos, look at that down there. That's all tomatoes. All tomatoes. There's probably more tomatoes, a lot more tomatoes than there are leaves on this plant. And the best thing is these things are super tasty. I mean, I've had some friends that are just die-hard sungold fans, and they're saying that they like these better than the sungold. So I'm definitely going to keep this variety around, and I'll probably start growing it every year. And then we have another favorite of mine is the indigo cherry drop. These are mostly purple, but they have some red. I'll just pick one of these here and show you. There is red on the bottom, and then it's a dark purple on the top. These are also a really tasty variety for being an indigo. Normally the indigo cherries aren't very tasty, but these actually are. And then we have the Brad's Atomic Grape. So I've had a lot of mixed reviews by people on these. Some really like it, and others think they're just all looks. But I think they're actually pretty good. However, I did have some problems with blossom end rot on some of these. This one, the lower ones don't seem to have it as much. Let me pick one here. So here's what it looks like. So they're kind of a mix of purple, green, yellow, orange, red, kind of every color you can imagine for a tomato. But I did have some problem with blossom end rot on some of these up here. Let me see if I can find some. Here's a cluster here. So all these here are all rotted on the bottom. You can see they're all kind of soft. So those are no good, so I'll be cutting those off. So I'm not sure what's going on. These are, I don't think I've ever had blossom end rot on cherry tomatoes before, so I'm a little disappointed by that, but I might try growing these again and see what happens. But then we have the Amy's Sugar Gem. So this one is a red, my only red variety of cherry tomato. So there's a ripe one there. And these are also pretty good. They've got sugar in the name, so anything with sugar in the name is usually pretty sweet. But they do turn orange, yellow to orange, and then finally to red. And then, let's see, we have a couple other cherry tomatoes. Let me take you to where those are. Go through here. So one of them I have is in the compost bins. So I like to grow at least a couple of tomatoes in the compost bins, and the one I grew this year is the pink bumblebee. I also have some other stuff growing in here. There's also a volunteer cherry tomato in here, but I don't know what it is yet. It doesn't have any. It's just starting to set some tomatoes, but I don't know. It might be a sungold, but I'm not sure. So here is the pink bumblebee, and here's one here that is almost ripe. It's not quite ripe, but there's one at the bottom here. Let me show you. I've only harvested one off of it so far, but this is what a ripe one looks like. Pick that off. So this is it's red and it's got some kind of a yellowish striping on it. So I love growing the bumblebees. There's a bunch of different flavors and colors. I've grown the purple bumblebee, the sunrise bumblebee, and then this is the pink bumblebee. I think there's only 3 colors. At least there's only 3 that I'm aware of. I'll have to see if there's more. And then finally, over here, we have the hanging baskets. So these are the Hamm's Gelb variety. So this is I think they call it a micro dwarf. So this is as tall as it gets. It's not even, maybe barely a foot tall, but it actually was pretty productive. It gets a lot of orange, small cherry tomatoes. So I've got that one, and I've also got another one over here. So there's actually some more flowers coming out on that one. I thought it would be done after these finished, but it's still setting off some flowers, so we might get some more off of that. But I really like these micro dwarfs for hanging baskets, so they're kind of a neat novelty. They're not as tasty as the bigger tomatoes, but it's kind of more of just kind of a fun novelty thing. I'll just show you one more back here of a volunteer. I don't think there's any ripe on it, but I'll show you what it is here. So this is my in-ground bed. I've got it mixed with a bunch of other stuff here. There's quite a few tomatoes set on it. And again, I don't know what this one is yet. It might be another couple weeks before we see any ripe tomatoes on it. I'm going to guess sungold, but I really don't know for sure. But that is all the cherry tomatoes for this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.